Over the years, cameras have been getting smaller and smaller while their image quality continues to increase, and for some reason, webcams have been left in the dust and kind of forgotten about. But Insta360 has solved this problem by putting a half-inch Sony sensor into a webcam with a gimbal to give you one of the best webcam experiences I think I've ever experienced. Now, a few years ago, Insta360 had released the Link webcam, which had a lot of praise from the community, and a lot of people really liked having a really awesome gimbal webcam. Now, Insta360 has released the Link 2, which is its newer, updated younger brother, and I gotta say, it's fantastic. We've been using it for this whole intro of the video so far. Now, Insta360 did send me the Link 2 and a tripod for the purpose of reviewing them, but I'm not being paid for this video, and they have no input on my opinions that I give throughout this review. If you do want to go ahead and support the channel, there will be links down the description below, and those will be affiliate links for both Amazon and the official Insta360 store. Using those do help support the channel, and once we get closer to the end of the video, I'll be mentioning some special offers that Insta360 is offering to my viewers. And last week, I also covered the Link 2C, which is the static version of the Link 2. If you want to go ahead and check out that video, I will have a link in the description as well as up top in one of the corners. Now, the Link 2 has some really awesome features like AI tracking using the gimbal, whiteboard and desk view modes, phase detection autofocus, pause track area, which allows you to preset locked positions for the camera when it's in the AI tracking mode. It supports landscape and portrait, and HDR is supported in all resolutions, which a lot of other cameras don't do. Now, if you didn't watch the Link 2C video, the Link 2 and the Link 2C are practically the same camera, except the Link 2C is a static camera and the Link 2 has the gimbal. They have the same sensor, so they have these same video specs, and they just do tracking a little bit differently. The 2C uses auto framing, whereas the Link 2 uses the gimbal for AI tracking. Now, this does come with a $50 price difference. The Link 2 is $199.99, whereas the Link 2C is $149.99. All right, so we have the Link 2 here and the mini tripod. Let's go ahead and get the Link 2 opened. On the box here, we have just some images of some of the features like 4K resolution, the half-inch sensor, AI noise canceling, true focus, AI tracking, whiteboard recognition, smart control, natural bokeh. It tells us all the things that are in the box, which we'll go over in a second. And yeah, overall, good feeling box. Let's get this thing open. And here we go. We have our camera. We have the gimbal. Very similar, as you can, if you watch my previous video about the 2C, this camera looks almost the exact same other than the addition of the gimbal. It's the same profile, so they're probably using very similar tooling for the two. It's a really nice looking camera. We'll get that one opened up in a second. We have the same kind of really heavy magnetic mount, which is really, really nice as well. I kind of sung its praise in the previous video, but this is all metal. Really, really well made. We'll get this one opened up too in a second. Just telling us to put the webcam in the center of the base there. Then in here we have a few things. We have some stickers from Insta360. We have the quick start guide, which is pretty thick, pretty big book. We have a warranty card, and then we have the alignment stickers. So this is really useful when you're using the whiteboard. And that's it in there. We also have a cable and the adapter. Now, as you can see, one of the really nice things in this packaging is there's not a lot of plastic. There's some plastic protectors on the actual camera and mount. There's some plastic around these, but other than that, the plastic's pretty minimal, so I'm pretty happy about that. I like having minimal plastic in the packaging. We have a USB-A to USB-C adapter if you don't have an additional USB-C port available. And then we have the USB-C to USB-C cable. Now, I believe this is around 4 to 5 feet long. It's not as big as my wingspan, which is just over 6 feet. Pretty decent length cable for most instances. I think it'll do a really good job wherever we need it to go. And with that, let's go ahead and get a closer look at the actual camera and mount. Move everything out of the way here. So we've got the camera. Go ahead and get that uncovered. And like I said, extremely similar to the 2C. I will grab the 2C in a second and we can compare the two size-wise. But the construction feels good. This feels like a piece of metal. This is plastic. The body is plastic. And we have the magnet in the base here. I am unsure what these pins are for. Might be for something. I will take a look at that in a second. But overall, build quality feels pretty good. We have the lens here. We have a dot here. I believe this is for the status indicator. We have a grill up top here. I believe this is probably where all of the microphones are sitting for the noise cancellation and the actual microphone. And then we have our USB-C port on the back here. Now, I talked about this a little bit in the previous video with the 2C, but one of the really nice things is the bases of these cameras are magnetic. So if you have a magnetic surface, other than the mount itself, say you have some kind of vertical metal surface, you can actually stick your camera to it and use it that way, which is really, really cool. The magnet on the 2 seems to be a little bit stronger than the magnet that was on the 2C. This base also has a magnet. So on the 2C, it feels like the base is kind of making up for the lack of strength on the 2C's little magnet base. But the bases look about the same between the two of them. They're really nice. They're fully metal construction. You have this articulation here, which is nice. On the 2C, it really helps because the camera is stationary, that it doesn't have a gimbal, but on the 2, it really helps you put it into that vertical mode, so when you have it on a monitor, it can look straight down if you want to, and it's not going to be obstructed by anything, and then you can go ahead and lean it back as well. Now, they do tell me to put it nice and center, so we're going to try to have it as center as possible, and it kind of sits itself, so you don't really have to do too much here. Here's the little touch control. It's at a pretty good position. But yeah, overall, the build quality feels fantastic. I am very impressed by the build quality. Let's go ahead and take a look at the tripod that comes with this. You can get this bundled in, or you can buy it separately, or you don't need it at all. It's just an optional accessory. But it can add a lot of flexibility to setting up your camera, and it's really well built. It very much feels like one that they would use for their action cameras. So it is a telescopic tripod, which is really, really nice. And then they have this little attachment here that you can just get out of the plastic, hopefully. Get these out of the plastic as well. And what happens is this just screws onto the bottom of the mount. And you just get that on there. And then we slide this on just like an action cam, as Insta360 makes quite a few action cameras. And then you get this on by putting it on 90 degrees. Got to get it all lined up. And then you turn it and you lock it in place, and that holds it in there quite tightly. If I want to adjust it, I just lift that up. I put the camera where I want it to, tighten that down, and then we're good to go. And then you have your tripod. So that's pretty nice. Let's go ahead and get this thing plugged in and take a look at it in the software and just take a look at how the camera looks. Before we go into the computer, let's look at the two cameras. So the 2C definitely just looks like the 2 without the gimbal. They look almost the exact same. Very little difference between the two. The 2C has the privacy switch on it, because the 2 is able to just look down as its privacy mode, so that it's not seeing anything, whereas the 2C, you don't have that feature, so it does have the little privacy switch, which is really nice. But honestly, they look extremely similar. They're probably made in the exact same mold, at least the cases are. The internals of these two cameras is the same, so it makes a lot of sense to me, and yeah, thought we would just take a look at the two side by side. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the camera on the computer. Now in the Link 2C video, I did a full comparison of this camera to a few other webcams, as well as my mirrorless camera, and I also went through the different audio modes. And the voice focus feature is extremely powerful at getting rid of a lot of those background noises like air conditioners, vacuums, pets, outside noises, and even clapping, where you shouldn't be able to hear the clapping that's happening right beside my face. And we'll cut between the two microphones so you can hear the difference, but I clap pretty loud, and I couldn't hear a single thing when I was going through the editing. So if you do want to go ahead and check that out, I will have a link in the description again For the link to see video, which has a lot more of those nitty gritty details, I also did a full walkthrough of the software. If you want to go ahead and check that out, I'm going to go through and show you some of the software changes that are specific to the Link 2, and then we're going to go ahead and do some real world setup of me using the Link 2 for a streaming area down in my kitchen and living room. The only real main differences here is that you do have a few extra tracking seconds, so you have the ability to do a pause track area. I'm going to do that in that showcase a little bit later. You're also able to do the tracking speed. So if I turn on AI tracking and it follows me around, so right now it's on ordinary mode. If I go ahead and do quick, it's going to move the camera a lot quicker. So it's going to be a little bit more of a quick thing, which might, if you're doing a lot of movement, might get people to get a little sick. But if you go ahead and turn it on to slow, it's just going to move a lot slower. It's not going to be as jittery. Ordinary, I think, works perfectly fine unless you have a specific use case where you want to use the quick or slow. And then you're able to turn on the auto tracking. So if I manually adjust the gimbal to look at my face, it's going to go ahead and try to frame me as best as possible. So that's a nice feature as well. And then you can also enable or disable the tap to touch for turning on the tracking or turning off the tracking. So that's also really cool. And then in the more settings, the only differences here is the smart adjustment, which will search for my head in a small range and try to do the best angle possible. And then also the mute in privacy mode. So if I have the camera turned down into privacy mode, it will determine if it's going to mute the microphone or keep it enabled so that I can continue using the microphone without having to use the camera. Editing Dimitri again. The entire next section is recorded using the Link 2 microphone in voice focus mode. There are a couple of sections where it cuts out a little bit whenever switching to desk view. In the transition, it does seem to cut out the microphone, so I do switch it to another microphone really briefly. I will mark that with some text, but 99% of this next section is using the Link 2 microphone. All right, so we're in my kitchen. We have my laptop here. We have a computer I'm going to be building here. We have a instruction manual on that side of the table, and then we have my kitchen. And my idea here is that I am going to be building a computer while also cooking some food at the same time. Now, if this is the kind of stream that you guys are interested in, let me know in the comments. I have my own space now, so it'd be really fun to do like some kind of cooking stream. I've already done one computer build stream, and I'd love to do more in the future. If you guys are interested, do let me know down in the comments. So we've got this all set up. Let's go ahead and get the camera added into OBS. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to our sources. We're going to go to video capture device. We're going to go to create a new one. We're going to call this one Link 2. And now we've got my terrible laptop integrated camera. We're going to get rid of that. So we're going to go to Link 2. And now if the Link 2 is not appearing here, that means that you have it on the preview on the Insta360 controller software. You're going to want to turn off the preview. And then if we go back here and we deactivate, it should pick us up. So that's awesome. I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that I lock it off at 4 be maximum output. And there we go. We can right click here and do transform fit to screen. So now we're in here. Now the next thing I'm going to want to do is I want to add, maybe let's do the microphone. So let's go ahead and do add. We're going to do audio input capture. We're going to call this Link 2 mic. And we're just going to go ahead and do that. And we're going to grab microphone Link 2. And we're all good to go. So now we got the Link 2 microphone in there as well. All right, so now that we're in the Link 2 software, we're going to go ahead and first add some presets. So I would actually like this to be a preset. Let's probably get it a little bit more centered. What I can do is quickly turn on the AI tracking and have it center me in the frame a little bit. Turn off the AI tracking. This is going to be position 2 for me since I already have one set up. We're just going to go ahead, press the plus button. We've added a position. Now I can switch between, I think this is a kitchen view. Not a very good one. Let's get rid of that one. And let's move this over and let's add that as a preset. So now we have the kitchen view is 1, view of me is 2. Let's go ahead and add a view of the computer. So let's go ahead and kind of get that in frame. I think that looks pretty good. We'll add that as a preset. Now we're also going to add a view of the instruction manual. So we're going to go over here and kind of get it close, and then we're going to turn on desk view. And there we go. We got our instruction manual on there. Let's add that as a third preset. So the desk view works really, really nice. On the Link 2, you do not have the same adjustments as you do on the Link 2C because the Link 2C is static. So with the Link 2, you can move it and it will go ahead and try to adjust it for you. So that's pretty cool. So next up, we're going to set up a pause track area. I want this to be right over where my stove is. So we have the kitchen view, and I'm going to go ahead and go to pause track area. I'm going to go to add, and I'm going to add one right up at the top here of the stove. We'll include the oven too so that you can see the oven. And then we're going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to go back to my face. I'm going to turn on AI tracking so that now when I walk over, it's going to follow me wherever I'm walking. If I'm doing my thing, talking about stuff, and then as soon as it gets that zone in view, it's going to lock in on that view. You guys will be able to see all the stuff that I'm doing on the stove. And then as soon as we're done and I go ahead and decide to walk back to my computer, the camera is going to follow me again and we're all good to go. So that's really, really cool. You can use that for a whole bunch of different purposes. You can have it locked onto a specific area of your office, for example, if you want to show things off. If you have a 3D printer or something and you want to show things, you can have those specific areas, and you can add a whole bunch of pause track areas if you want to. So now in a live streaming environment, you may want to switch between presets, turn tracking on and off. And there's a few ways we can do this. If you have a Stream Deck, you can go ahead and add your hotkeys into your Stream Deck. Unfortunately, Insta360 doesn't have a native Stream Deck app, but we can use hotkeys for this. The important thing to keep in mind is that these are going to be global hotkeys. So if you use any of these hotkey combinations with other applications, you're going to have to try to figure out if you can change those other ones, because unfortunately you cannot change the hotkeys in the Insta360 software. One big one that you're going to want to make sure you don't have any conflicts with is OBS. So if you go to your OBS, you go to settings, and then you go to hotkeys, you can see all of the hotkeys that are currently being used. You can even search for hotkeys. And then when you go to the Insta360 app, if you go up to the more settings and you go to settings here, and then you go to hotkeys, you can see all of the hotkeys that Insta360 would be using. Make sure that you have the global shortcut key enabled. This is going to allow the hotkeys to work even if this program is minimized. And let's go ahead and add some. So let's add all of my presets. So 1, 2, and 3. And then we can also add AI tracking. So Alt-T. So Alt 1, 2, and 3, and then Alt-T. So all we have to do is open up our Stream Deck software. We're going to go to the system and then hotkey, add a hotkey. Let's call this one kitchen. And that is going to be Alt 1. And then we do a second one. We're going to call this one face. And that's going to be Alt 2. And we'll do a third one. Computer. Alt 3. Fourth one. Manual. Alt 4. And then we wanted to turn AI on and off. So we're going to add one here. We're going to do tracking. Alt T. So now, if I go ahead and hit the kitchen, it's going to go ahead and switch over to the kitchen. If I hit the computer, it'll switch to the computer. If I hit the manual, it's going to go ahead and move over to the manual. If I go back to my face, it'll go back to my face. And then I can turn the AI on and off. And now the reason I like having the AI on and off as a trigger in the Stream Deck versus using the gestures is when I'm doing things, I like to show my palms a lot. And if I'm constantly showing my palm, it's going to turn the AI on and off. So as you saw right there. So I usually like going into the software, going here and turning off the palm so that I don't do that. It's a very common thing that I'm going to do. Now, the other gestures, however, are super handy when I'm walking around. So if I go ahead and turn on the AI tracking with the Stream Deck, and then I walk on over here and I wanted to zoom in on my face, I go ahead and do the L, and I can zoom all the way in. I can go ahead and zoom out, and you can use those really, really easily. But the hand gestures, I often show my palm a lot, and turning on and off the AI gestures whenever I do that is just a little bit inconvenient, so I just use that. Now, if you don't have a Stream Deck, you can still control your camera using another device. And when I'm walking around in the kitchen, I think this is actually gonna be my preferred way because the Stream Deck's right beside my laptop. So if I'm somewhere else, I can't really use the Stream Deck. So you can actually use your phone to control your camera. So if you go into the Link software, we're gonna go ahead and hit this little button here. It's gonna show a QR code. I'm gonna go ahead and scan that. Now, once I open it, it's gonna bring me to the Insta360 controller application. We're gonna go ahead and walk into the kitchen. Now, while I'm in the kitchen here, if I want to, I can go ahead and point it to the computer, which is really, really handy. And then if I want someone to send me a message as to what's on the manual, maybe with someone who's watching my chat, I can go ahead and switch it to the manual view. Someone on chat can read the next instruction to me and send it in a chat message, for example. I can go ahead and go back to the kitchen view, right? And then I can go ahead and walk back to my desk, have the kitchen view, have you guys watch over my stove, and then while I'm back here, I can go ahead and switch it back to this view or turn back on AI tracking. Now that I've gotten a lot of use out of it, what do I like and what I not like about the Link 2? Now, the Link 2's build quality is fantastic, both the actual camera itself and the mount, the tripod, all of them, everything is just built really, really well. I think that you're getting a very good build quality. The sensor is fantastic. It has looked really, really good, again, in multiple environments. My kitchen and living room area does not have very good lighting, and I still think it looked pretty good. It even handled the light changes a little bit better than my phone when I was trying to use my phone to record some things. So I'm pretty impressed with the sensor overall. I think the Link 2 provides a lot of value for a multi-purpose camera. If you're going to be doing a lot of movement, it's definitely providing a lot of value for you. It does so well in all those different environments, whether you're going to be using it for work, for content creation, for streaming, or just video calling family and friends. I think it does really, really well in all of those situations. And if you do need something that moves around with you, the Link 2 is an awesome choice. If you want something that's static, the Link 2C is just as good quality wise, it's just not going to follow you around. Now, I've really liked the desk view as well. I've used it quite a few times, as you saw me use it for the instruction manual in the kitchen, but I've also used it to just quickly show my desk a couple of times while talking with some friends on Discord. I've even used it to show some dice rolling while playing some tabletop games with some friends. So you can get really creative with the desk view, and I really like the added functionality of it. Now, the only things that I don't like or things that I think can be improved is I do wish that the mount had a way to mount the camera vertically. I think they could add an axis to this magnetic mount to allow the camera to be put into a vertical position. It's unfortunate that the original Link had the ability to go vertical, whereas the Link 2 does not. And I think that all they would have to do is just do a new version of the mount where it has the front and backwards, but it also has a sidewards little flip that would allow you to put the camera vertically. It'd be nice for the people who want to use it. I'm not personally going to be using the vertical very much, but for people who would, I think that'd be nice and not having to use a tripod for everything, especially if you still want it on top of your monitor. And the other thing is a same thing I said in the Link to C video, where I just wish that the software had a few more granular controls. I wish some of the things that were just a toggle on off instead also had a slider for the intensity in terms of some of the audio settings and some of the tracking settings as well. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the software. It's just something where I think that they can improve it. But to wrap things up, I think I would recommend the Link 2. I think it's a great option if you want a camera that can track you with a large range of movement. It's really great for people who have multiple recording areas or do a lot of atypical streams and content creation, like doing cooking streams or just IRL style content. I think it's also great for work calls if you do a lot of movement within your office or you like presenting on multiple boards and you need that range of movement. I think that the Link 2 really steps up over the Link 2C by having the gimbal. It really helps allowing for a lot of flexibility. And as you're able to see when I was in my kitchen and living room area, it really gave me like 4 or 5 different camera angles with one camera. So I was super, super impressed with that. But I'm really curious, do you guys think you would use a gimbal or would you prefer using something like a static camera? Would the gimbal kind of go unused in your situations? I'd be really curious. Let me know down in the comment section below. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Insta360 is going to be providing some really great offers for my viewers if you use the links and codes down in the description below. If you buy the Link 2 or the Link 2C from the official Insta360 store, they're going to be giving you their FlexiCare, which is their premium warranty program, for free. And if you buy from Amazon, they're going to be giving you the tripod, which is a $30 value for free for the first 20 people who buy using my links. So I really hope that these offers add some additional value to your potential purchases. And with all that said, I really do hope you found this video helpful, and if not, at least hope you found it interesting. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can also leave those down in the comment section below, and I'll try to get to all of them as quickly as I can. Big thanks to my patron sponsors, and big thanks to you for watching to the end of this video. If you want to see any other videos where I talk about new products, review them, do first impressions, including that link to see video, you can check out the playlist right up here. And as always, stay safe out there. I'll see you next time.